G'day, and welcome to the AOS Coach sneak peek into the Echoes of Doom battle box between the Skaven and the Sylvaneth. Now, Games Workshop were kind enough to send me a copy in advance. However, I got this box literally 24 hours before it goes up for pre-order, so they haven't seen this video before it goes live. In this video, I'm going to highlight the Sylvaneth updates that are featured in this battle box. I'm going to show you the rules for the new hero, the Lady of Vines, as well as the new unit, the Gossamid Archers, as well as the points for Sylvaneth. Now, in this box, you are going to get 10 new Sylvaneth models. You are going to get the Lady of Vines. You are going to get the Spirit of Durthu. You are going to get 3 Kurnoth Hunters, as well as 5 Gossamid Archers. While on the Skaven side of the battle box, you will get a brand new sculpt for the Deathmaster. You also get a Grey Seer on Screaming Bell. You will get 10 Storm Vermin as well as 20 Clan Rats. So let's crack on and look at the good stuff. The Lady of Vines is the demigod daughter of Alariel, and she is held with the utmost respect to the Sylvaneth. She has died more than once in the service of Alariel, but every time that she dies, she is regrown back to fight again. She was originally made during the summertime of Alariel's war aspect, and she wields the spear that it was grown from the splinter of Alariel's own weapon. When we look at her base profile, she has 8-inch movement, a 3-up save, bravery of 10, and 10 wounds. She has both a melee and a missile weapon profile. Her missile weapon profile is an 18-inch attack. She gets one of those that hits on a 2, wounds on a 2, rend 1 for d6 damage. While in melee, she has 2 different attack profiles. The first one has a 3-inch range. She has 3 attacks on them, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, rend 1 for d3 damage. And then the second one also has a 3-inch range. She gets 4 attacks, hits on 3s, wounds on 3s, rend 1 for 2 damage. So she's got a pretty good consistent profile. The Lady of Vines is a War Master, so when you include her in a Sylvaneth army, she is treated as a general, even if she isn't picked as the general on your army list, which is going to be awesome for issuing out commands at a much further distance. The Lady of Vines is a spellcaster. She is a wizard, and she can attempt to cast 2 spells in your hero phase, as well as unbind 2 spells in your enemy's hero phase. She has a couple of extra abilities, the first one being Verdant Crown, where friendly Sylvaneth units that are wholly within 6 inches of the Lady of Vines is treated as being wholly within 6 inches of the Awakened Wildwood. I'm not going to get into that because that could change in the new Battle Tome. In previous Sylvaneth players, go look at your old Battle Tome to see what that would currently mean now, but we don't know how that's going to change moving forward. Withering Vines at the start of the combat phase, if this unit is within 3 inches of an enemy unit, it can say that it will use either create a protective barrier or ensnare foe. So you've got 2 different options here depending on what you want to choose. If you want to choose to create a protective barrier, subtract 1 from the hit rolls that target this unit until the end of the phase, which is very nice. If you choose ensnaring foes, you get to add 1 to the hit rolls for attacks made by this unit until the end of the phase. So choose your own adventure. I probably like the protective barrier a little bit more, but hey, you get to choose about it. Rouse to Wrath is a once per battle ability where if this unit is on the battlefield at the end of your movement phase, you can attempt to call on some additional allies. And if you do so, you get to roll a dice. And on a 2+, you would summon a unit of 10 Dryads and add them to the army. Now, when you bring on those Dryads, they would either have to be set up outside of 9 inches from your enemy, much like traditional summoning, but you bring them on wholly within 9 inches of a Awakened Wildwood, or an overgrown terrain feature. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself, what is an overgrown terrain feature? I don't know yet. People from 2nd edition Age of Sigmar might recognize overgrown. It used to be one of the different terrain options that we used to have. That no longer currently exists in 3rd edition, so I can only imagine this is a rule either coming in the General's Handbook or it is a rule coming with the Sylvaneth Battle Tome. So just keep that one up your sleeve for now. And finally, you have Aspect of the Everqueen, which is a spell that is cast on a 7, and it has the range of 12 inches. And if you successfully cast the Aspect of the Everqueen, until your next hero phase, friendly Sylvaneth units will have a 5-up ward, while they're wholly within the range of that caster, so that 12 inches of the caster. The Lady of Vines also has the specific keywords for anyone who's playing keyword bingo: Order, Sylvaneth, Forest Folk, Hero, Wizard, Branch Wraith, and Lady of Vines. The other new unit that is in here for Sylvaneth is the Gossamid Archers, which are a new elite range threat for your army. It has a 12-inch move, it can fly, it has a save of 5 up, it is a bravery of 6, they have 2 wounds each, and they come in sets of 5 models. Their main damage is going to come from missile weapons, which have a 12-inch range. They have 2 attacks each, hitting on 3s, wounding on 3s, no rend for 1 damage, and the unit champion is going to get to add +1 attack to their missile weapon characteristic. Now, this doesn't sound like much, I know, but it improves through larval shafts, where if the unmodified hit roll for the attack made by the bow is a 6, the target's going to suffer D3 mortal wounds and the attack sequence ends. So it's going to do a bunch of mortal wounds for every 6 that you hit unmodified. Through the Zephyr Sprite ability, after you issue Unleash Hell command to it and it's done all its shooting, if the unit is within 3 inches of an enemy unit, you get to roll a dice. And on a 2+, the unit can retreat. I love this. It has a 2-inch coherency instead of 1, so it means you can spread out your models a little bit further. And it does have the keyword Order, Sylvaneth, Free Spirits, and Gossamid Archers. This is a great little unit that's going to be able to harass your opponents at speed and chip away with some mortal wounds with 6s to hit. Their range is short when you compare them to, say, Kurnoth Hunters that are going to be shooting at a much further range, but it's those Zephyr Sprite abilities that is going to really remind me of Daughters of Cain, how we use Canary to shoot and then move away to avoid combat, maybe even sneak onto an objective. It's just that you do a bunch of mortal wounds if you roll 6s to the unmodified hit roll. I can definitely see Sylvaneth players taking 1, maybe even 2 units of these, but you probably want to keep an eye out to see how many points the Gossamid Archers are going to be. When it comes to your other troop choices, you do have the Spirit of Durthu in the box, and the Spirit of Durthu did gain 2 extra wounds to the characteristic, so Durthu is now 14 wounds. The damage table has been modified and there's now only 4 levels where previously there were 5 levels. So it means that you're going to get your best profile a little longer. The move, save, and bravery is still the same. There is a change in the missile weapon and it now does 2 damage flat, where previously it used to do D3 damage. So it doesn't have the spike to do 3 damage, but you'll get more consistency through the Spirit of Durthu. The rest of that attack sequence is the same, as is the Guardian Sword melee profile. That appeared to be the same to me. The Impaling Talon melee attack profile, it's now range 1, 2 attacks, hits on 2s, wounds on 2s, Ren -2 for 3 damage. So it gained an extra attack, it got a little easier to hit, and it does more damage. It did lose the Champion of the Everqueen's Will, which was an ability that used to give +1 bravery to Sylvaneth units within 12 inches. It did lose the Impale ability, which dealt mortal wounds on a 6s with the Talon, and it also lost the Ground Shaking Stomp, but in that place, it actually gained an ability called Ground Shaker. So same, similar, different. But what Ground Shaker does is it allows you to carry out a monstrous rampage with the Spirit of Durthu. If you use this monstrous rampage instead of one of the other ones, you get to pick 1 enemy unit within 3 inches of the Spirit of Durthu and roll a dice. On a 3+, that unit is going to strike last. So you apply the strike last effect to the ground stomped or ground shaker unit. The other change, which kind of ties a little bit into what we saw on the Lady of Vines, is the spirit path was slightly modified. So you still play it the way you always used to do with the Awakened Wildwoods. It's just now it includes that overgrown terrain. So you can set up the Spirit of Durthu with a Awakened Wildwood or in range of an overgrown terrain. Again, we don't know what the overgrown terrain is. We don't know how to get it. We don't know what it all means, but basically hold on to this one until the next General's Handbook or the updated Battle Tome. I'm sure we'll learn a whole lot more not too far away. Finally, your Kurnoth Hunters with Great Bow, their save characteristic improved, and it's now a 3+ save, where previously it used to be a 4. Your move, your bravery, and your wounds stayed the same. You've gained consistency through your missile weapon profile. It now does flat 2 damage instead of having the D3 spike. And the rest of the profile is still the same. So it's 30 inches, 2 attacks each, hitting on 4s, wounding on 3s, rend 1 for 2 damage. The melee weapon profile has slightly improved, and you're now hitting and wounding on 3s, while the rest of the profile has remained the same. The Kurnoth Hunter champion now adds +1 attack characteristic to that champion model, instead of giving itself +1 to hit. There was some significant changes with the envoys of the Everqueen. It's now after a friendly Sylvaneth hero issues the all-out attack or all-out defense command. You can pick one Sylvaneth unit within 6 inches of this unit. If you do so, roll the dice. On a 4+, that unit also receives the command, even if it's already received a command. So you're actually potentially going to get 2 commands on one particular unit if you're lucky and roll that 4 up. Again, only on all-out attack or all-out defense. The trample underfoot is the same, and then you lost the Tangle Thorn Thicket rule, which was the ability to not pile in, but allow you to re-roll your saves. There are no indications here when it comes to your Kurnoth hunters with swords or scythes. It's purely a focus on the bows, so who knows if there are changes coming up in the battle tome. At the back of the Echoes of Doom booklet, there is a set of pitch battle profiles that will allow you to use your Lady of Vines, your Gossamid Archers in match play. However, if you're going to take them to a tournament, do speak to your tournament organizer to see if they're going to allow these new units or how they're going to rule these particular changes. Now, of the units in this book, the Lady of Vines is 340 points, which for a hero seems fair when you look at the double casting. It has 10 wounds. It can summon a unit of Dryads on a 2+. It will compete with a few other heroes in your army that play around that 300 mark, but a good addition to the force nonetheless. Your Spirit of Durthu went up from 325 to 375, which also seems fair when you consider it has an improved attack profile and it has extra wounds. The Kurnoth Hunters with great bows stayed the same. They're still 255 points for 3 models. And the Gossamid Archers are 215 points for 5 models. And there is no indication from this book if the Gossamid Archers can be battle lined. So this might seem a little bit high when you compare them to, say, Sentinels or Bloodstalkers, but maybe they're getting a points increase into the next General's Handbook. I mean, you're paying for 10 wounds, some good mobility, the shenanigans with Unleash Hell. You're obviously getting mortal wounds. So, look, the Gossamid Archers I still think are good. I probably would pay for at least one of them, but again, compared to like Sentinels and Bloodstalkers, maybe you feel a little bit ripped off at this point. So, what do I think about this box for Sylvaneth players? Both the Lady of Vines and the Gossamid Archers are a good addition to your list, and I can definitely see them being used in games. The Gossamid Archers, I think, will be popular. They have mobile threats, they have mortal wound potential, and I can definitely see people building some of their lists around the Lady of Vines, although it will challenge for some of your other heroes. You know, it might be hard for you to have Alariel and the Lady of Vines, or if you're running the Warsong Revenant and the Lady of Vines, all of a sudden you're up to like 700 points, which might be a bit too much for you. But hey, that ward bubble is great. The various utility abilities that it has is great, and the ability to bring on a 1 unit of free Dryads on a 2+ is quite good as well. There are also 2 other kits, and they're quite versatile kits. The Spirit of Durthu can be built into a Tree Lord or a Tree Lord Ancient, and the Kurnoth Hunters can be built in either bow, swords, or scythe builds. We do not know the rules for the other builds, but if you happen to own too many Spirit of Durthus already and you don't own a Tree Lord Ancient, and you were considering buying this box, it might actually be valuable, again, depending on the depth of your collection so far. I'm hoping that the rule changes continue for Sylvaneth, especially the battle tome. It feels very hamstrung when it comes to the reliance on the Wildwoods, and I'm hoping with this overgrown ability, and we'll probably see the new battle tome in the next 2 months, hopefully, based on previous release cycles. I actually don't know the release cycle. It's not like I'm telling you that, you know, this is the hidden code that it's coming in 2 months. It's just based on the previous delays between battle boxes and the battle tomes. It's been somewhere within 2 months, some shorter, some longer, but ultimately, yeah, I'm hoping that there's a less reliance to the Wildwoods. and there's more ways to manipulate the existing terrain on the table with this overgrown rules that the Lady of Vines and Durthu refer to, but actually doesn't tell us what overgrown is. But hey, that's enough from me. I want to hear from you in the comments section what you think about this box and the rule changes that are coming in and your new War Scrolls. Will the change make you think about using your Sylvaneth a little bit differently? Will you be adding the Lady of Vines? Will you be taking the Gossamid Archers? Am I over anticipating what these Gossamids are going to do? Are they too expensive? Is 215 odd points too much for what is apparently a fragile, unit, and people are going to shoot off the board? Who knows? Let me know in the comment section. I'd be curious to hear from you what your thoughts are on the new Sylvaneth. Thanks for sticking around until the end. I hope you found that video interesting and you walked away with a few new ideas. If you did, I would appreciate it if you hit like on the video, as well as left me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. The conversation will continue over on Discord, so link is down below in the episode description if you want to join the Discord and continue the Age of Sigmar conversation. I want to give a massive shout out as well to these absolute bloody legends, these champions who have continued to support me through Patreon or YouTube members. That is going directly into supporting the maintenance and the growth of this channel. So thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated. And until next time, roll more sixes.